Hello, Triple M time, Murdock's Music Minutes, and it's time for another more or less fresh review. I'm currently catching up a little bit on releases from the second half of 2025, so they are still rather current and fresh for me. And today I'm very happy to talk about a band that I really loved in the 1990s. It's the latest album by the Lemonheads called Lover. Sorry, it's a record from my daughter. Yeah, I'll come in again, okay? Hi and welcome to another fresh review. Today, talking about the latest album by the Lemonheads. Yeah, called Love Chant. Let's find out if this is an album filled with hooks or rather something that doesn't deserve a lot of love. This album came out after a almost or more or less 20-year break or hiatus of the Lemonheads. Their last proper studio album with original material by frontman and only constant member of the band, Evan Dando, was the self-titled The Lemonheads from 2006. We had a couple of archival releases and two albums with cover versions 1 and versions 2, but also released over a long span of time. I don't really count those cover version albums as proper Lemonheads releases. So I was, to be honest, very surprised to see this one coming out or being announced, because I was of the impression that the Lemonheads were done for good and Evan Dando's career had come to an end, whether deliberate or not so voluntarily. But now we've got this one. 11 tracks and quite a lot of guest musicians, friends from old times. You get a bit of the who's who of 90s American alternative rock on this album. Jay Matthews, for example, from, of course, Dinosaur Jr., plays a bit of guitar on at least one track here. Juliana Hatfield is back providing background vocals. She also was a part-time member of the Lemonheads during their heyday with It's a Shame About Ray in the early 90s. There's quite a bit of collaboration in terms of the songwriting. Very often there are co-writers for individual tracks. One song, for example, but I'll come to that later on, was co-written with indie or anti-folk darling of the 2000s, the noughties, Adam Green, who seems to be a fan and friend of Dando these days. By the way, this album was recorded in Brazil, which is the new home country of Evan Dando. He moved to Brazil to get his teeth fixed, hopefully get away from the drugs. But most of all, because he got married. He married the daughter of a famous Brazilian singer, Renato Teixeira or Teixeira. My Portuguese isn't the best, but believe me, this is not the Lemonheads' samba or bossa nova album. Yeah, the artwork to this album is maybe a bit simplistic. I've heard some say that this looks rather plain and uninspired. I actually quite like it. It looks like, yeah, a lot of fishing hooks. That's back sleeve here. The inner sleeve gives us a bit of the band, the Lemonheads, as was mostly the case, again, act as a trio here. We've got Farley Clevin on bass, acoustic guitar, and electric guitar, and the drummer, who does some really nice and cool stuff on this album, is called John Kent, and of course, even Dando himself, vocals and guitars, and also a bit of drums and bongos. And by the way, his wife also here is credited as the executive producer for the album. My copy also came with this quite nice, charming signed card, plus a download code. If you're quick, you can catch it now. I haven't used it yet. And what I also really like about this issue is that it comes on a beautiful light blue vinyl, which I have touched and spoiled now. Yeah, lovely, lovely color. But of course, sometimes you get the feeling this whole vinyl collecting thing is these days is more about who's got the most exclusive edition of an album. Is it colored vinyl? Is it some special edition, whatever? This is a nice extra. It's always nice to see colored vinyl, I'll be honest, but I'm buying these albums, of course, because I'm interested in the music. So let's talk about the 11 tracks on the Lemonheads' Love Chant. The first track is the 58-second song, which is longer than 58 seconds, and after about 10 seconds, you are already into the classic Lemonheads sound all over again. Up-tempo, strummed guitars with power pop, punk edge a little bit, and very sing-along tunes. 58-second song could be almost an outtake from the days of It's a Shame About Ray or Come On Feel the Lemonheads. What sticks out immediately, however, is that Evan Dando's voice is a lot deeper than it used to be. Also sounds a bit worn on some tracks, but hey, this guy is approaching 60 and hasn't always led the healthiest ways of life. So I think you can forgive him, and he is still recognizable as the voice of the Lemonheads. Yeah, this is a fun ditty, as mentioned, very sing-along tune, co-written with the singer-songwriter Marcia Jones. And this is a song about putting things into perspective, relativizing some things maybe, or reconsidering one's choices, one's decisions. Never forever is a very long time. And of all the things that are never said, nobody knows what they never meant. Yeah, we are off to a good solid start into this album. The things get immediately a bit crunchier, edgier with the next track, The Deep End, based on a nice little half tone step riff. This song definitely shows why the Lemonheads were popular also with the grunge crowd, but it also reflects the band's punk backbone. Overall, I'd say the Lemonheads always were a bit more power pop and punk than actual grunge during the 90s. And this track definitely harks back a bit to that sound. In general, Love Chant mostly sounds like an album that could have been recorded in the early or mid-90s. And who knows, maybe some of those songs date back a little earlier than 2025. However, In the Deep End is a great track showing the a little bit harder edged side of the Lemonheads. It was co-written with Tom Morgan from Australian indie power pop group Smudge. The lyrics, as often with the Lemonheads, seem to refer to or allude to, treatments, illness, or maybe also addiction. I like this song. It's a mid-tempo alt rocker.
Showing all the symptoms, coughing up a ghost, going into treatment, better double down the dose. Going off the deep end depends, a question of composure. Watch the clouds come over.
In the margin is a bit of a ramshackle, slightly dark indie rock song. We even get a hint of a guitar solo. It's all a little bit chaotic, and like actually this entire album, which however endears it to me, it sounds as if the band had just simply been recorded live in their rehearsal basement. And even though also this song is quite catchy in an indie rock way, the Lemonheads on this album don't shy away from sometimes slightly jarring elements or not always very tuneful little breaks and guitar lines, for example. But that's what makes it a bit edgy and maybe gives this album actually a bit more of a character of its own compared to 2006's The Lemonheads, which was more or less Evan Dando rehashing his power pop style. In the Margin seems to address rejection or being cast aside by maybe in a relationship or by society in general, by people who used to be close to somebody. If periphery is what you give, I'll leave you in the margin. Again, co-written with Marciana Jones, and those two songs that she was involved in are really, I would say, two of the strongest tracks on this album.
Stupidly, I left snake plans out so they could find my way. Our lives, they went past and turn to me, I'll be out here if you want to find me. I'd rather die than let your thoughts confine me. If periphery is what you give, I'll leave you in the margin.
This is followed by Wild Thing, not a cover version, but a co-write with Adam Green and Jodie Porter. But the title Wild Thing is not a coincidence. Basically, this song really turns the famous 1960s Wild Thing riff, turns it a little bit upside down and transforms it into, again, a very 1990s sounding alternative rock, indie rock song. A fun song, again, with a bit of a noisy guitar solo in the middle, and at least to my ears, quite a bit of a tongue-in-cheek attitude. And just as I reach the track B, and there's a bit of sun coming through in the background on this rather grey day in Vienna. But let's not digress. The next song is called Be In. This starts off as a bit of a more relaxed track. It has a quite nice melody to it, but then the longer the song goes on, the more chaotic and jarring it becomes again. I find this one quite interesting, though it's not the most immediate song on the album. It seems also to be a bit about reflecting maybe also a relationship, a meeting with somebody who's very important to you. The drums on here create what I would consider, at least on a Lemonheads album, quite a nice groove. not something you hear very often with this kind of music. And then we get to the last track on side one, the very straightforward and catchy Cell Phone Blues. This is an instantly hummable melody. Hand claps, classic Lemonheads, power pop, indie rock. However, halfway through we get a little bass break, and then the song continues with its tune, but in a much more garage punk style. Again, emphasizing this loose, let's record while we rehearse approach to most of this album. Maybe it's not the most important track on Love Chant, but I have a soft spot for it. I think it's really great fun, even though it bears the word blues in the title, and you get a bit of rock and roll and blues guitar licks that also sound quite ironic. Yeah, this sounds musically quite upbeat.
Easy passing. Easy passing. I haven't written a song in one night for quite some time. All my life I've been worried I would die. Folks writing again and again, Bob over and over and over and over. Cell phone blues.
Side 2 opens with Togetherness is All I'm After, co-written with John Strome, a former member of the Lemonheads. And after a chaotic, really discordant intro, this track turns out to be kind of a ballad, an indie rock ballad, albeit a very noisy ballad. Again, however, under all the guitar noise and the distortion, and also the slightly muddy production, a quite beautiful tune is buried. Yeah, this song again is very reflective, pensive, a bit melancholic maybe, and it feels quite heartfelt, with lyrics like, "The strategy of life is that it's gone before you know it." Also on this track, Dando all of a sudden rediscovers his higher vocal register and almost sounds like the Dando of old.
Listen to the wind blow, a whisper through the trees. Where did all the time go? What brought you to your knees?
After this one, we get to what is, for me, the highlight on side 2, a track called Marauders. This is an up-tempo indie rock track that lives from, again, a very nice drum groove. One might almost call it bouncy. And quite odd lyrics. Make what you will of the repeated lines: chicken, corned beef, ham, duck, and turtle meat.
Marauders, you and me. Marauders of the sea. Marauders, you and me. Marauders of the sea. Off top of my own head, is there anything left?
Next up is the title track, Love Chant, and in true style to its title, this is more a kind of repetitive chant with Dando basically just singing "Tell 'em the way that I feel." It's also rather up-tempo and again leaves space for noisy electric guitar shredding in between. It's not the most essential track, so interesting that they chose this as the title track for the album. But still, I enjoy this one. It is a bit of a slightly psychedelic indie rock jam, and yeah, it's not too long, so it doesn't, outstay its welcome. I think it's quite fun, and still, this chant, "Tell him the way I feel," is quite catchy, worms itself into your acoustic memory to some extent. So yeah, it's an okay track. Second to last song on the album is called The Key of Victory. This is the only more acoustic track of the album. It's also definitely the most laid back, low key entry. Again, this feels like it was more or less an impromptu recording in maybe a relaxed living room session. Evan Dando doesn't even try to hide his hoarse, a bit worn voice on this track, which talks about, well, eventually I would say, not backing down, not giving up despite all the backlashes one experiences in life. And I guess Evan Dando can tell quite a bit about that. It's not surprising that his upcoming autobiography is called Rumors of My Demise. The song is built around a charming, repetitive, little circling acoustic guitar line. One might argue that also this one, like Love Chant, is rather a bit repetitive musically and a bit underwritten. But since this is the only more laid back acoustic track on the album, I think it provides a nice change of pace and style towards the end of the record. And the final number is called Roki. Not sure if this refers to an actual person. The only one coming to my mind would be Roki Erickson from former 13th Floor Elevators band leader or singer. But I'm not sure, it could be about somebody else or maybe about Evan Dando himself. Again, a song that deals with making sense of one's life, maybe also the misfortune one experienced in life. Bit of a melancholic rock song that, however, bristles with power from the band in the background. And another really, really solid tune. Maybe the key of Victory would have been a more pleasant or more positive closing track. But the Lemonheads certainly want to present themselves as a seriously rocking indie band on this album. So if you are familiar with the popular albums, Lemonhead albums from the 90s, most of all, of course, It's a Shame About Ray and Come On Feel, the Lemonheads, where they still had that power pop energy, but sounded a bit more acoustic and a bit, sometimes also a bit more country influenced. Love Chant may come across as unusually harsh or noisy in some places, but actually, if you are familiar with more of the Lemonheads catalog, they really stay true to their roots and to their sound. And even though maybe the days of really outstanding tracks such as Confetti or It's About Time, for example, might be over, Evan Dando still can come up with very enjoyable indie rock tunes that should make any fan of 90s alternative rock, 90s power pop very, very happy. On the whole, to be honest, this album was even stronger than I expected. Songs in the second half maybe are not as memorable or as well written than in the first half, but at the end of the day, this is definitely an above average album. In fact, it's a really good, strong return for Evan Dando and the Lemonheads. If you are a fan of the Lemonheads, you definitely should get this to get your kick of 90s nostalgia, but with new material. And for me, this is a more than solid 7.5 out of 10. That's my relatively fresh review of this relatively recent release. And now it's your turn.
And of all the things I've never said, nobody knows what they never